Good morning. Buenos dias. I hope you are well, staying positive and focused on what you can control. Welcome to Cafecito con HACE and Happy Women's History Month. This year, HACE's theme is Avanza, advancing positive impact where momentum meets opportunity, where we are showcasing impact on advancing employee equity, advancing careers, advancing social responsibility. I hope you can join us for the summit, April 25th and 26th, where we will have great content, great conversations around these topics, and great people. Drop in where you are tuning in from in the chat. I am in Chicago, and use the comment section to this time to network, to connect with one another. My name is Patricia Mota, and I serve as president and CEO of HACE, a national organization whose mission is to positively impact workplaces by cultivating the community of Latino talent, providing the insight, access, and support to be successful in their careers. Few key announcements before we get started with our special guest for today. Today, Avanza Your Career is a special session where we are sharing information on how to best leverage HACE's Career Center if you're looking for your next opportunity. So make sure that you register for this free opportunity to learn more from our great colleagues at HACE here in terms of how to best leverage HACE to help find your next career opportunity. And so you'll see that in the chat. And then also, Latinas in Business. There's a virtual event on this Thursday. Some of our alum from Mujeres de HACE Entrepreneurs and great program leads, facilitators that will share some more insight on what you need to know to enhance and scale your own business. And so check those out and you'll see that in the chat. So bienvenidos a todos. We see folks from all over the U.S. joining in. So good morning to everyone. Today I have the pleasure of welcoming Alyssa Morel, who is the manager of partnership activation co-chair for MLB, or Major League Baseball. Somos ERG. Good morning, Alyssa. How are you today?
Buenos dias. Thank you so much for having me. Good morning, everyone. Doing well. Excited to be here. How are you, Patricia?
I'm excited to be here because we've had an amazing partnership with MLB. So quick shout out. You're probably going to shout her out too, but I want to beat you to the punch. Catalina.
Yes.
Because I know she's joining us, and we just had, so shout out to Catalina, who leads in the DEI space and all things with our partnership and brings amazing people like Alyssa to engage with the HACE familia. And so I just want to recognize her and the many team members that we've gotten a chance to work with. So, but first thing is first, everyone, this is Cafecito con HACE. So Alyssa, tell us, How do you like your cafecito? And those of you tuning in, share with us in the chat.
Yes. I have my cafecito here, but it depends. So I grew up down in South Florida, and if I'm home with the family, it's a cortadito bien oscuro. Like it has to be super, super dark. But on the everyday, it's just regular coffee. I prefer Bustelo, a little bit of sugar, and like a splash of half an ounce. So that's what I have here today, and hopefully everyone's drinking their cafecito this morning.
Bueno, cheers. Salud to everyone drinking their cafecito or their cortadito. I know we've had folks who've been sharing about the cortado here every so often as well. So those of you tuning in, let us know your cafecito morning or morning beverage of choice, because I realize not everyone drinks cafe. Alyssa, so to share with us and our audience joining us about your cultural, your professional background, how you got to the role that you are at MLB.
Yes, of course. So I joke around when people ask that question, where is your family from? And I say I'm like a sazon packet because I got a little bit of everything, half Dominican from my dad's side. And then my mom is half Colombian and Puerto Rican. So we've got all the flavor there. Obviously, with that, sports is a huge part of that background. And growing up, huge baseball fan. It was just a way to bond with my family. And that was kind of always in the center, whether I was playing softball growing up or it was on the TV, going to games. So always had a passion for sports. How I ended up in sports, again, kind of a funny story. I always thought I was going to do crime scene investigation or join the military, which are two very different career paths, but it wasn't until my senior year of high school where I was introduced to one of my teammates' fathers who was an agent. And he started explaining, the business side of sports and, the different avenues that you can get into, kind of on the back end of sports, obviously not being an athlete, but in the business space. So through him, I learned a little bit more and I was able to pursue a career in that. I started off at a junior college down in South Florida, but transferred over to the University of Florida. And once I was in Gainesville on that campus, I kind of took a deep dive and volunteered at every athletic event with the athletic association and really kind of got a taste for what roles were available in the sports industry. So from there, I kind of found my route or my plan or journey, I should say. I started off in marketing and promotions and was able to have a position in the Mets minor league system. I worked for their minor league club in Brooklyn. And through that, I kind of ended up in the partnership activation space. And now my role here at MLB.
Wow. So, you talked a lot about your passion in sports and having met with someone to generate that awareness that, hey, you could actually have a career, not necessarily playing the game, but in the business side, which I think is so critical for folks to know, because especially many of us that are first gen, obtaining a degree in our families, or first gen thinking about going into a professional workforce, have no idea. And which is why these types of platforms and conversations, and you, Alyssa, sharing your story alone is so impactful and beneficial. And so thank you for sharing that with us. Those of you joining in, please have your questions ready, engage in the chat. This is an amazing opportunity to network. I know we've got some folks here from the MLB also engaging. So, hey, you want to say hello and engage in chat here in the comment section. So tell us, you mentioned, Alyssa, talking about the Somos ERG, right? And so this is for those of you that may not be familiar, employee resource groups, or sometimes they're called BRGs for business resource groups, or sometimes affinity groups, networks, depending on the organization that you're at. But the intent is about providing a community and a network that's driving key initiatives within the organization. So for that at MLB is Somos. So tell us more about that and what the role that you're leading there.
Yes, exactly. As you mentioned, Patricia, for those who don't know, Somos is a Hispanic and Latin or Latinx employee resource group at MLB, and we have roughly 240 members, and that spans across our regional offices. So we're based out of New York, our headquarters, but we have offices in Colorado, we have offices in LA, and so on and so forth. So we have about 240 members, and the main mission is to enhance MLB's efforts in the community by providing opportunities, obviously, to those members, but through employee engagement programs, professional development, community involvement. So those are kind of our pillars. But with that, it's an exciting opportunity because, as you know, we touched on, and I think the conversation, representation matters, and it's tough sometimes when you kind of get caught up in your day-to-day and you kind of have your head down and you're working. Obviously, you're doing what you need to do, but it's always encouraging when you see folks that look like you, or when you have those opportunities to kind of let your voice be heard and for you to be seen. So MLB has really done a tremendous job, and our group is really focusing on continuing to advance those opportunities for all of us, but also just continuing to elevate our voices and making sure that, we have great things and great ideas and great talents, and making sure that we are all kind of at the forefront of that, and we all have those same opportunities as everyone else does.
That's awesome. Do the players get involved with this? I know this is a me question. Maybe some other folks are wondering.
I mean, MLB does have these larger initiatives that span across the whole league, and with that involve players too. You'll see a lot of it during Hispanic Heritage Month, where they put the acento on the MLB logo, and you see a lot of players kind of getting involved with like content series and whatnot and telling their stories. But we do involve players when we can, and we have awesome Somos merch, and a lot of our players, you'll see them rocking their hoodies and stuff. So they're involved when they can be, which is great, because as you guys know, a huge percentage of our players come from the Latino Hispanic background. So we've got representation from, the top all the way to the field. So it's amazing to see when we see some of the big league guys wearing our stuff and They're like, okay, they get it, that's us.
Yeah, those of you tuning in, let's drop. I just want to ask the audience, I'm doing a poll. What's your favorite MLB team? Let's see in the chat. I know of those of us in Chicago, we've got the White Sox or the Chicago Cubs. It's always a good time when, especially those two teams play one another. And then so let's see. I got the Mets on there. Los Yankees. That's the other thing that we've seen, right? The Spanglish approach with the teams as well, which is pretty cool in terms of engaging our diverse audience of Latinos and so many other communities as well. So we'll take a question. So if you want to drop it, I know we've got Los Cubbies. Okay, go Cubbies, go White Sox. Okay, so Bernie's saying both. That's awesome. So Los Astros, okay, Houston here. Alyssa, so tell us, as the manager for the partnership activation, so tell us more about MLB's efforts and partnering with organizations like HACE to provide employee development, leadership opportunities. I know we had an event with you all last year in New York as well, and then there's just a lot of great things and that we're building towards, right? I always like to say our partnerships are continuing to enhance year over year. And especially with, I think the MLB, there's just so much opportunity for folks to be aware of.
Yes. So as I mentioned before, and I will sing this till, whenever I can, always put the praises, but MLB understands the importance of inclusivity and representation. And I think a huge example or telling of that is partnering with organizations like HACE. It shows that, we're being seen and heard. Our voices are being elevated, but it provides us opportunities to, work with you guys and support your mission internally and externally, but it lets us know that we are aiding in the overall advancement of Latinos, Hispanics, everyone in the Latinx community. So it's awesome by opportunities, by attending the HACE Summit, conversations like this. We've, partnered in events that have been held at MLB HQ. So things of that nature where, via the partnership, MLB understands the importance of it, but we're able to create our own opportunities and continue to elevate each other, in these spaces. And it's been amazing to see. And, I'm sure there will be more panels and more networking opportunities and more summits where we can all collaborate together with that overall mission in mind. But, these are just some great examples that I've been lucky to be a part of and the larger community has been a part of via the partnership.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then even part of the panel, I remember a conversation that we had last year. A lot of folks were sharing just kind of didn't know, right? Like they're like, oh, I met someone who told me more about how this could be a career. And so that's why it's so important to have those types of conversations and awareness. But then most importantly, with our shared mission is, all right, you're there. How are you enhancing your visibility, speaking to groups and ensuring that you're advancing in your own career and progress, right? Because it's one thing to be able to get there, but it's ensuring that we're climbing the ranks or getting into those more senior level roles and opportunities where we can influence and have that leadership as well. So that's amazing. We still got some Mets here. So we'll probably take a poll later in terms of seeing
we'll see who's winning.
I know, right?
But I think if I can add to that, I think a big part of the partnership too is, as you said, we have the opportunity, but it's opening up the door or leaving the door open for everyone else behind us. Because as we touched on, we might not have known there was roles in this field. And whether it's a conversation like this, where, we can continue networking and developing a relationship and a connection and just making sure that everyone, I don't mean to use the word behind us as in a bad term, but all the other folks that are making their way to this same space, that they feel seen and supported. So I think that's a great thing that the partnership is allowing.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And us is just a piece of that. There's a lot in terms on the community and the ground that MLB is doing for our youth, right? As you talked about, that next generation that we're wanting to support and be visible for is so critical. And those that are either looking to be able to make a career out of it in terms of on the business side, or even on the sports side, right? I think, we've talked a lot about of that, and then the players that you have, which are the large population of Latinos, right? That are in the sport. And so awesome. I know we got some engagement in the chat. We saw Catalina was joining us, and there's her comment. All right, Catalina, it's good for you to have us and connect with Alyssa's story. And she's just an amazing advocate and partner that we have there at MLB. So as we let's see here, wrap up, Alyssa, tell us in terms of what are you most hopeful for this year?
That's a great question. I think obviously we all kind of start the year off where I know it's March, but it seems like it's been a whirlwind of a year since January. We kind of set the year off with these goals and wishes for ourselves. But I think something that I'm most hopeful for as we continue on through 2024 is just the continuation of representation in the sports industry, the business industry, not only for Latinos, but it being Women's History Month. It's important to see women and girls in the space, both sports and both in the business field in general, while we're continuing to always make advancements. The youth needs to see themselves and have, the opportunity to know I can be that person. And, that's what I'm just most wishful for, whether it's via these networking opportunities, these partnerships, initiatives on the greater level, just hoping that, we know we belong in this space and continuing to motivate others and encourage them to enter the space and let everyone know that we belong here and we're making waves just like everyone else.
That's awesome. And you're right? In terms of, especially it being Women's History Month and understanding that you are making it happen. You are an example of that, and really understanding that there's so much opportunity in the sports industry and arena, especially for women, underrepresented groups like Latinos and others as well. Alyssa, we appreciate your time and joining us and having this conversation. To all of you joining in, this will stay here on our LinkedIn, our Facebook, our YouTube. So if you want to continue the conversation, drop any comments, any questions that you have. We will be sharing it with our partners at MLB so they can continue to engage with you here. And let's keep the conversation going in terms of ensuring we're increasing representation in the sports, that we're moving the needle together and advancing positive impact, as we like to say, for this year. So todos, thank you for joining us, and hasta la próxima. Until next time.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.